Guests in my podcast are like my coffee, strong, flavorful, and they always brighten my day. We have amazing conversations over coffee. We cover everything from growth to inspiring communities, empowering customers, and sharing exceptional leadership moments. In this season, we're hosting incredible leaders whose journeys inspired me to keep growing and learning every day. I'm Imane, and I welcome you to my podcast, Coffee with Me, Leaders of Change. Hello everyone and welcome to my latest episode. Today I'm delighted to have with me Jason Graefe, Corporate Vice President for ISV and Digital Natives at Microsoft. Prior to this role, Jason was the Vice President, Strategic Advisor and Chief of Staff to Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella. We have so much to discuss. I can't wait to get started. Welcome, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
Let's take a seat. Thanks for coming, Jason. Really excited to having you here.
Well, thanks, Imane. It's great to be here. It's good to be in Singapore, and it's been a pleasure to get a chance to work with you this week. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, let me start by one thing.
Okay.
I'm a huge fan. Yeah? And you know why? Because I joined Ahmed as his Chief of Staff 18 months ago, and I went to look for my North Star, my role model. So many people told me, go and talk to Jason.
That's very kind of you. Thank you very much.
So tell me a little bit more about your role, your previous role, because Congratulations, you have a new one.
I do.
And we will talk about that. But let's go back a little bit into your previous role as Satya's trusted advisor and Chief of Staff.
Yeah, sure. What can I tell you? What would you like to know?
How did that happen? And, you know, the key takeaways and learnings that you got for the last 7 years.
Sure. Well, let's see how it happened. I'd been at Microsoft for a number of years at that point. I'd done a number of jobs. I started in the field at Microsoft as a seller. I was a technology specialist in Denver, Colorado, and I had made my way through a number of roles and then ended up working in Redmond for Kevin Turner, our COO at the time. And I learned a tremendous amount from him, just a tremendous amount of things from Kevin. And then I'd gone on to kind of do some different roles. I worked on the retail stores. I got to do strategy there. I worked on Surface, got to launch the Surface commercial channel, and that was just an unbelievable experience in my career, just starting something up like the stores from scratch. But then on the hardware side, that was really exciting. It was kind of a rocket ship when Surface Pro 3 came out. It was really fun. And then I went and decided to kind of get into a different side of the hardware business and learn how we took care of customers from a break-fix side. And as soon as I got into that role, I got this interesting call from Kathleen Hogan, our head of HR. And I had a one-on-one scheduled with her, and I went and sat down with her, and I'd known Kathleen for years. And she said, well, is this a one-on-one or is this about the job for Satya? And I said, I don't think I know what you mean by the job for Satya. So she explained it, and I had done a similar role, a communications role for our COO in the past, and so I wasn't sure that was the path I wanted to go back down. And Kathleen had the best advice. She said, you should talk to Satya and sit down and spend some time with him. And so I did. And that was kind of the beginning of everything right there. We had a great conversation. He, in his traditional, or I guess in his typical Satya manner, asked a lot of great questions. The whole discussion was just him asking really thoughtful, interesting questions about the company, about our competitors, about just the world in a lot of regard. And it was pretty fantastic, experience to just get to know him in that way. Yeah.
I love it. I met with Satya in November, just 3 months after I joined Ahmed as his Chief of Staff. And, the learning are incredible. The humility, the gratitude, the whole aura is just amazing. And like what you mentioned, great questions, listens a lot, and then asks really good questions, really good questions.
The great part was over the 7 years, it turned into 7 years with Satya. And I started with him, and, we had talked very early around what we wanted that structure to be like, and then it evolved a lot over time. And every time it would kind of come to a point where I thought I was ready to move on, he'd ask me to stay a little longer. And then the COVID hit, the pandemic.
Yes.
And that really changed a lot.
Yes.
And so that was, when you think of a time period in my lifetime of when I got to experience something very unique and really see leadership at its at a very interesting level and a very interesting place at a time that I don't think any of us could have prepared for, at least the people that we, have had the privilege to work with in our careers. It was a very very interesting time, very defining time, and I would never trade. The 7 years I was able to spend with Satya and with the SLT were some of the most interesting 7 years, I think, in business in the past few decades. It was just very, very interesting and complex, a lot of complicated situations, a lot of emotional situations.
Yes.
And so it was a pretty powerful time, great learnings.
Yeah, and we were talking about gifts, right? The 7 years, I hear you now, and the 7 years is a gift to yourself as well.
Yeah, for
when
sure.
it comes to learning and growing and having that growth mindset. You mentioned earlier about an intern that you hired in Satya's office,
Yeah.
and you gave her great advice.
No, boy, what did I say?
You said, okay, and I can't quote you 100%,
Okay.
but you mentioned to her that the learning that she will have will not be only for a month or few months or a year, but the magnitude will take her for a long time to bring that learning into her next career journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, when you have a chance to be at the vantage point of the office of the CEO in an organization like Microsoft, where you just have the scope and the reach in the world that you have. It's a company that operates out of 196 countries in the world. It's got people all over. It's got a phenomenal success in terms of its revenue production and what it does. But at the same time, the impact it has on the world, and the products we've launched over the years have really had what Satya calls consequence. It is a company that is a consequential company in our time, and it has impact. And so just getting to see the company from that place, I think, will change anyone who spends a period of time there. And yeah, I remember that conversation or having very similar conversations, because what happens is you go and you get into the workflow of the office of the CEO, and it's obviously a pace that you have to adjust to, and it's a scope and a vantage point that's very unique. But what you don't realize is that the lessons you're absorbing, the moments you're seeing the leaders of the company and people coming to work with leadership, what you're seeing them do, the way you're seeing them handle situations, the way you're seeing them manage through things or lead through things, you really don't recognize you're absorbing it until you go on your own, and then you either lead on your own or you go to a different organization. And I even now that I've been out of the role for just a short period of time, there's so many situations I find myself in thinking, I feel like I've seen this before. I've seen how this would be handled, or these are the type of questions or perspective that Satya would have asked, or others, members of the SLT, would have thought about it this way. And so I don't think you realize that it's happening to you, but it's happening to you.
That's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, the new role.
Sure.
Tell me everything about it.
Everything. Well, this is day 32. And so I wish I knew everything about it, but I have a lot to learn about it. It is an exciting place. So now I get a chance to really work with our ISVs, our digital native ISVs, and our venture capital customers and private equity customers around the world to really help them understand how to build on our platform. Obviously this incredible secular shift in technology has occurred with generative AI, which we can talk about that as well. And everyone, is anxious to learn how Microsoft has one, pivoted the entire company to embrace this technology, and two, how they can do it as well and what they can learn from us. And we have a lot to learn. Yeah. We have a lot to learn, but we also have learned a lot. This isn't something we woke up a year ago and said, let's start now. It's something that as a company we've been working on for a very long time, decades.
Yes.
And then the partnership with OpenAI, accelerated that learning and opened a new avenue for us. And so we've got a lot to do to help other software companies, our ISV partners, help them grow. I think there's a tremendous amount of value that will be created when you look at what generative AI will do. I look at the three major technological shifts that have occurred in my lifetime. And so there was the internet and the mobile revolution, which, for people like you and I, we didn't get to really participate in it from a business leadership standpoint, but we enjoyed the benefits.
True.
We have really cool mobile phones and all these apps, and we got a chance to really expand our world through the internet and through mobile devices, no matter where we lived at the time. And then a number of years later, came the cloud. And so that is something I think we have enjoyed and we have had a chance to participate in more fully. I think this one's going to be bigger than all three. If I added up the enterprise value or the value created from the prior three technological shifts, I think this one's going to be bigger. And that's really exciting to me. And so in my conversation with Satya, I told him, I want to go be a part of that in a bigger way. I want to go really help the company. But more importantly, I get motivated and really inspired by our mission.
Yeah.
And so having the opportunity to really empower organizations, people and organizations on the planet, that's something that I take deeply personally. And I think we can do that really in a big way through ISVs. Software, I think about my trip here to Singapore and how much I connected with friends and family all week long and coworkers. It was all through software.
Yes.
And there are ISVs somewhere in the world working on the next big thing with our technology that I think are going to change our lives even further. So having the chance to go do that for the company and work with others at the company to lead that, that's incredible to me.
That's amazing.
And that's very exciting. I thought I had the coolest job in the company. Now I think I have the coolest job in the company.
You always have a coolest job in the company.
I think so, yeah. It's been pretty great.
And it's inspiring to me as well to see that you are inspired by the mission, you are inspired by the technology, and I'm really seeing the technology. We are, probably we call ourselves digital immigrants, and then there is the digital natives, and now our kids are AI natives.
I know, isn't that amazing?
It's amazing. It's amazing where AI is everywhere in their screens and their conversations. And honestly, we are just scratching the surface when it comes to ISVs and what they build on top of our platform. And the future is just incredible, with the Gen AI. And our kids and the future generation will do even more. I'm just looking forward to what they will come up with.
Yeah, I don't think we can even get our heads wrapped around it.
No.
A very wise person at the company that I've had a chance to be mentored by, he's launched some incredibly innovative products, and then he's working on some more now. And we were talking one time around what would you tell your kids to study right now? And he said, my father and mother never really could get their head wrapped around what it is that I did in working on cloud software and collaborative software, right? Things where multiple people can work through the cloud on the same thing at the same time. He said, that wasn't something they could really get their head wrapped around. So I don't think anything they told me to study would have prepared me for that. And that resonated with me because I don't think there's anything I can tell my kids, any one thing I can say they should go study.
Yes.
It's about being curious. It's about, understanding that things are going to change very rapidly. How do they stay up on those things? How do they just continue to want to learn more and put themselves in the position to learn more? Because the world as we know it is going to change magnificently. And I think the world as they know it is too. But it's going to hit all of us a little differently.
Absolutely. Just raise them to be good, better human beings and great human beings, and let them explore the world and innovate.
There you go. Exactly.
I love it. I love it. So, going back a little bit on your leadership style, if you could, for example, summarize it, and I know it's just probably too hard to summarize your inspiring leadership, but what would that be if you would summarize your leadership style in few words?
In a few words. I always think it's better to have someone else describe your leadership style, because
that's fair.
There is what we think we project, and there is what people receive and their perception of you. And so I would say what I hope to project that people would see is, one, someone who is curious. I try to ask a lot of questions. I just have a lot of questions on so many things. I love to explore. Even while I'm here in Singapore, I love to just walk the streets and just see things and absorb things. And so I'm incredibly curious.
And you went to a hawker center by yourself?
I went
just
to
now, the hawker center.
I did. I went to the hawker center by myself. It was fantastic. And that's a whole nother podcast. The experience I had there was really tremendous. And I'll have to tell you about that too. And so I'm just very curious, and I'm curious about the world and the way things work. And so I think my team or people that I get the privilege to work with would say that. I would hope they would say I'm empathetic. I especially in this new role, I started in the field. I was a field seller. I carried a bag. I was a TSP. I've worked in corp. I have deep empathy for what the people who are trying to do their job are doing and how we can help them. And so I never forget that, but even with my teams, thinking about everything people have going on in their life as we're asking them to do more is, I have a deep sense of that. And then I hope people would say I'm also very customer centric and a servant leader.
Yes.
Someone who feels very deeply and very passionate about other people achieving their hopes and dreams. I remember one time I asked someone in a Connect, what are your dreams and aspirations?
Yes.
And the look on their face was such shock, and I thought they were going to fall over because no one had ever asked them that. And I just thought, we spend so much time at work, we work so hard, and if it's not accruing to something that we really want out of life, I think we've got to help people find that. And it's amazing what people will tell you when you ask that question, and you learn so much about them, and that's inspiring to me.
So what's your dream then? I'm
oh my gosh.
Bringing the question back to you.
I think a lot about what the world will look like for my kids. Everyone asks what's my purpose or inspiration. My family is absolutely the most inspiring thing in my life. And I translate that even into the job I'm in now, where, I'm so inspired by what people can do with software. It's one of the coolest tools in the world. It's this unbelievable, pliable, remarkable thing we have to create so many different things in the physical world, in the digital world. I mean, the way it translates is limitless. And I get really excited about what will be created for my kids and what it will open up for them in terms of whether they want to be, they want to be writers, they want to be in the creative arts, they want to be in any analytical computer science. It just opens up so much for them. I watch it in their lives today, the way they engage with things. And so, my dream is really continuing to advance some really great things in the technology world.
Love it.
I used to have a dream of, playing professional sports and things like that, but I missed that opportunity, got too old. So now it sounds kind of weird, but that really is what excites me. My wife asked me the other day if I was tired because I've been running so hard since I took this job, and I had to stop and think, I'm not. Like, I'm just energized and I'm running on adrenaline because there's just so much to do and so many exciting things. I think I've met one of our ISV partners, either a digital native or an ISV or a venture capital firm, one every day since I've started.
That's so
and I'm
impressive.
trying to keep this pace of making sure I average at least one a day. And that is so energizing. And it's just very cool to be doing something that energizes you that much. I feel very fortunate for that. It sounds kind of corny, but it's true.
It's true. It's true. And look at the smile in your face. It's an amazing time. Yeah. And we were really, pleasantly surprised when we asked you to come to Singapore within just the very first day of the announcement.
Yeah. The first mail I got.
The first email that you got from my boss, and he pinged me and he said maybe Jason would come, and I was like, he's just got the job, boss. We may not know, and you made it happen.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the commitment.
The best thing you can do, I believe, in the first few days, months, whatever it is on a job, however you want to calibrate it. But for me, the best thing I could do would be to get out to the people who are dealing with our customers the most, right? Yeah. And so everything I can do to learn from the people who are, one, from our customers, from the ISVs and from the digital natives, or the people building software products, and then the people talking to them every day. And so, any chance you can accelerate that learning, even if you got to fly a long way to do it, it's worth it.
It's very much worth it.
And you have such a unique market here.
Oh, yeah.
Southeast Asia and this whole region is very unique. It's unique within itself as well. And I think that's, if we can, address some of the needs here, I think they can go a long way. You can address things everywhere in the world.
I love it. And that's why I've been in Asia for the longest time. Yeah. Between Japan and Singapore, it's just so diverse and lots of learning. And it's so vibrant as well.
Unbelievable.
It's incredible.
The energy here, the energy around the other Southeast Asian countries it is infectious.
Yes.
It is wonderful. I mean, it just gets you so caught up in it and you just feel it. And, the energy for innovation, and it's just, you see so many people, so many young people just coming up with amazing ideas.
Yeah.
I walk into these meetings with our ISVs and I am, I think it's a sign of my age where I think, oh my gosh, everyone looks so young. But the innovation and the things they're doing and the reach is just astounding.
Yes.
It's pretty cool.
Yes. And it's humbling too.
Yeah, incredibly.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, we had a really good conversation. I would have loved to have you for more.
Yeah.
Few, advice to our audience before,
Advice about what?
Leadership journey and growth.
Leadership journey. I've been very lucky to work with some pretty amazing leaders. Whether it was my first job out of college, I had a chance to work with golfing legend Jack Nicklaus. That was kind of the beginning of some transformational experiences. When I was in school, I had the chance to learn from an amazing Nobel Prize winner, Pulitzer Prize winner, Toni Morrison. She was unbelievable. That was, it shaped me. So everyone I've had the chance to work with, I think, has shaped me along my journey. Kevin Turner at Microsoft, my other leaders at Microsoft, now Satya. I think the leadership advice I often give people is, one is pay attention. Pay attention to what's going on around. Don't get caught up in the day-to-day and lose the sense of what's really happening around you. Listen, be curious. Try to absorb what's happening. Don't be fooled that the job you're in is the most important job. I think oftentimes people are thinking about why they're doing a job to get to the next job, and they're worried about the next job. And I would tell people, be patient and learn what you need to learn in that job, because it will help you in the next one. Don't miss it.
Yes.
And then I think form your own opinions, do the work to think deeply about things. I think in this day and age, there's a lot of noise that comes at us. There's a lot of things, we're surrounded by a lot of things to read and a lot of different things coming our way. If you can learn to focus, the best leaders I've worked with have an incredible ability to focus and shut out the noise. And I think that is a unique skill in today's world. It's being able to calm yourself and be calm in the noise around you and really focus on things and give it the deep thought it deserves and often needs.
Yeah. And I love this conversation because you're so calm and focused. The whole episode we're giving this calm energy coming from you, and you're inspiring me. As I mentioned earlier in the episode,
you're very kind.
I was told your North Star is Jason. So now I know why.
Well, I had an amazing role model that I had the privilege to work with, who the Satya you see is the Satya I saw. He's very, very calm and very thoughtful, and that taught me a lot.
That's amazing. I enjoyed the conversation.
Me too.
Thank you so much for coming to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. It's nice to be in Singapore, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you all for watching.